Put God first, ladies and gentlemen. There is a secret hidden in plain sight, one so profound that it can remake your world from the inside out. To put God first is not to bow before an image or look outside for power. It is to awaken to the truth that God lives within you as your own wonderful imagination. The source of your life, your circumstances, your joy and your pain, it all flows from what you dare to assume, feel, and believe in the silence of your soul. When you learn to honor that inner presence, to trust the unseen vision over the seen facts, you are no longer a victim of the world, you become its creator. This is the sacred act, not just to believe in God, but to believe as God. To put him first is to place your inner reality above the outer chaos, and to walk by faith, not by sight. God is your own wonderful human imagination. To put God first, you must first know where God truly resides. And the greatest revelation you will ever receive is this: God is not distant, not a force out there in the clouds waiting to be pleased or persuaded. God is your own wonderful human imagination, that which you call your I am. Your awareness of being, your ability to envision, to feel, to create inwardly, that is God in expression. The kingdom of heaven is not a location you travel to, it is within you. And the door to that kingdom swings open the moment you recognize the divine power of your thoughts, your inner conversations, and your emotional assumptions. The outer world is nothing but a mirror, faithfully reflecting back what the inner man is imagining and accepting as true. Most of us were raised to believe in a God separate from ourselves, a being who gives or withholds, blesses or punishes, according to mysterious will. But when you begin to see that your imagination is the very place where reality begins, you awaken to a deeper truth, that you are not a servant of fate, but the operant power behind your own life. Every desire, every longing, every vision you hold, these are not random wishes, but divine urgings trying to move through you. To put God first, then, is to give priority to that inner realm where your imagination rules supreme. It is to withdraw attention from appearances and return to that secret place where things are created, the garden of your mind. Understand this. Nothing happens in your outer life that was not first accepted in your inner world. Every condition you call reality is simply the outpicturing of your inner state, yourself, concept, your beliefs, your assumptions. You may not remember the moment you imagined it, but you consented to it inwardly. And so, putting God first means becoming conscious of that creative process. It means making your imagination your God, self the first authority in your life. When a problem arises, you do not panic or plead. You go within and revise the inner picture. When lack shows itself, you don't curse the outer world. You imagine abundance and walk in the feeling of already being provided for. This is not fantasy. This is spiritual law. To put God first is to train yourself to feel the truth of your desired state, even when all your senses scream the opposite. It is to give more power to the vision you hold within than to the evidence you see around you. Imagination is not idle daydreaming, it is the womb of all creation. Whatever you dare to imagine, if you persist in the feeling of it being real, must come to pass. This is the great secret of the ages, hidden in plain sight. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The heart here is not emotion alone, but the depth of feeling united with belief, the very core of your imaginative being. And so, I urge you today to put God, your inner creative power, first. When you wake in the morning, don't immediately check the news or worry over problems. Instead, turn inward, ask yourself, what am I imagining? What am I assuming? What am I feeling to be true about myself and my world? Choose deliberately what you wish to see and live from that vision. Imagine lovingly, not only for yourself, but for others, for we are all one, and what you hold true of another, you also hold true of yourself. No longer live as though you are subject to circumstances. Circumstances are the echo, not the cause. God imagination is the cause. To put God first is to claim your divine inheritance as a creator, a chooser, a powerful being sent not to beg for change, but to be the change through your own inner alignment. You are not a victim. You are the image and likeness of the Creator, which means you, too, create, not by force, but by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That is the prayer that never fails. That is how God works, not with thunderbolts, but with quiet conviction within the soul. So begin today, honor your imagination, cherish it, feed it beautiful things, and above all, trust it, for it is God within you, dreaming the world into being. Put God first, and all things shall be added unto you. Your inner world creates your outer reality. The great mystery of life is not found in the outer world, but in the silent convictions you carry within. To truly put God first is to come to terms with the staggering truth that your inner world, the realm of your beliefs, assumptions, and feelings, is the cause of every condition you experience in the outer world. What you feel deeply to be true about yourself and others, whether consciously or unconsciously, molds your reality with unwavering precision. Your world is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Every person you meet, every circumstance you attract, every door that opens or closes, all of it, is a perfect reflection of the images and emotions you sustain in the depths of your consciousness. You are not at the mercy of fate or chance. You are the projector of your own life movie, and the film being played is written by your inner dialogue, your sustained moods, and your repeated assumptions. If you wish to change the picture, you must first change the slide. Inside, change yourself, concept, your inner speech, your emotional stance. To walk in alignment with God, your own creative center, is to live with a holy awareness that what you think and feel with persistence will inevitably shape itself in form. This is not a poetic idea or wishful thinking. It is a law as consistent as gravity. The outer world is nothing but a delayed echo of the inner conversation. If you have lived under limitation, it is only because you have believed in limitation. If you find yourself surrounded by conflict, you must look within and ask what inner disharmony you have accepted as real. This is not about blame, but power, because if your beliefs created it, then your beliefs can unmake it. And this is the beauty of divine law. The moment you revise your inner world, the outer must follow. It cannot resist. The world will reshuffle itself to match your new conception of yourself. Consider the nature of feeling. Feeling is the secret. Thought alone is not enough. It must be fused with the emotional certainty that what you imagine is real. Feeling is the substance that hardens your vision into fact. You must live inwardly as though the thing you desire is already yours. This is how we are instructed to pray, not with pleading words, but by entering into the state of the wish fulfilled. Assume the feeling that your desire is realized, and let that feeling become the dominant tone of your inner life. This is putting God first, not reacting to appearances, but responding with the authority of imagination and faith. When fear whispers, "This won't work," your God, self, answers, "It is already done." When doubt says, "Look at the facts," your inner knowing replies, "The only fact is what I feel to be true." Let us go deeper. Your outer world is like clay, but the hands that shape it are invisible. Those hands are your beliefs and assumptions. Every time you dwell on lack, you're shaping your world with the hands of poverty. Every time you imagine yourself as unloved, you are molding relationships with the hands of rejection. But the moment you lift your inner eyes and begin to feel yourself into a new state of abundance, of love, of peace, the world begins to shift. Not instantly, for time is the servant of faith, but inevitably. The world cannot help but become what you believe it to be. That is how powerful you are. That is how close God is, not a distant judge, but your very own consciousness made creative by what you feel and accept as true. And so I say again, put God first. Place your inner world before all external facts. The world may show lack, but within feel abundance. The world may shout chaos, but within feel peace. Others may doubt you, but within feel certainty. This is not denial of reality. This is mastery over it. This is what it means to walk by faith and not by sight, to live from the unseen and allow the seen to rearrange itself in obedience to your sustained inner state. The world you desire is already alive within you. Nurture it in imagination, and it must be born. So guard your thoughts, monitor your feelings, become aware of what you are feeding your inner self. For as surely as night follows day, the world outside will reflect the world within. To put God first is to trust this invisible process more than the facts of the moment, to live with confidence that what you feel, you become, and what you become, you experience. Faith is loyalty to unseen reality. Faith is not blind, it is visionary. It sees what the eyes cannot, hears what the ears do not, and knows what the world denies. To put God first is to commit unwaveringly to the reality you see and feel within, even when the outer world offers no confirmation. True faith is not hoping for something to happen, it is knowing that it already has in the invisible, spiritual realm where all things begin. It is a quiet, radiant confidence in the unseen, an unshakable allegiance to the truth of your imagination. To live in faith is to remain loyal to the vision you've claimed in the secret place, even when evidence delays or contradicts. You do not waver when the facts change, because faith does not ask permission from facts. It declares its truth, and facts must eventually conform. The moment you claim a desire and feel it to be true, you plant the seed of its manifestation. Faith is the act of keeping that seed alive in the warmth of your inner certainty, refusing to dig it up with doubt or impatience. Many pray in fear and call it faith, but true faith is not a plea, it is an inner agreement. It is the bold act of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and living from that state regardless of what your senses report. To be faithful to God is to be faithful to the unseen version of yourself, the higher version, the healed, the successful, the joyful, the free. It is to walk through the storm with your eyes fixed on the invisible shore. You are not putting faith in a distant deity to rescue you. You are trusting that the divine presence within you has already done the work. Your role is to remain loyal to that inner reality until it becomes outer fact. That is putting God first, putting the inner truth above the outer appearance. Faith requires discipline of mind. It is the continual choosing of the unseen vision over the seen problem. It is the refusal to accept as final what the world tells you is true. When appearances say, "You are not enough," faith says, "I am already complete." When the world says, "It's impossible," faith whispers, "It is already done." This is not delusion, this is divine alignment. For the real delusion is to think that what you see is all there is. The unseen is more real than the seen, for it is the cause of the seen. Your imagination, filled with faith, is more powerful than any fact, for it is the womb from which all facts are born. And so, putting God first is not a one-time declaration, it is a lifestyle of inner allegiance. Every moment offers you a choice. Will you be loyal to what you can see with your eyes, or what you can feel in your soul? When you choose the latter, you rise above limitation and align with your creative authority. Faith is not passive. It is a force that moves mountains, not by force of will, but by the silent insistence of belief. The mountain may still be standing in the outer world, but in your imagination it has already moved, and so, in time, it must. That is the promise. What you accept as true within will shape the world without. To live by faith is to live in advance of your evidence. It is to rejoice before the harvest, to feel abundance before the money comes, to walk in love before the relationship appears. It is to put God first by allowing the inner vision to take priority over the facts of the moment. If you desire healing, see yourself whole and feel it now. If you seek prosperity, walk as one who already possesses all that you need. If you long for peace, dwell in the silence of your soul where all things are already made right. This is the way of the spiritual master, not the servant of conditions, but the creator of them. This is what it means to trust in the unseen, and in doing so, to allow the seen to transform. So I tell you, be loyal to your dream. Be faithful to your inner conviction. Do not trade your vision for temporary facts. Do not let doubt become your God. To put God first is to give first place to your inner knowing, and to remain steadfast in the assumption of your desire fulfilled. For in that unseen realm it is already done, and your faith, if sustained, will make it visible. Live from the end, not toward it. To truly put God first, you must dare to live not toward the thing you desire, but from it. You must step into the state of the wish, fulfilled, and abide there, as though it were already fact, for this is the only true creative act. To live from the end is to let your future define your present, not your present define your future. Most people live as reactors, always adjusting to the world around them, constantly responding to what is happening, believing that change comes from effort, time, or external help. But the one who understands the secret of God within the power of imagination and feeling knows that all things are birthed from consciousness. To live from the end is to identify with the version of yourself who already possesses what you desire. It is to make that state more real to you inwardly than anything your senses can currently observe. It is not daydreaming about a better future, it is walking, talking, thinking, and feeling as though you already are the one you wish to be. And in doing so, you set in motion a divine law that reorganizes all aspects of your world to match your inner conviction. This law is precise and unyielding. What you are conscious of being, you become. If you feel poor, no matter how many affirmations you say, poverty will persist. If you see yourself as unworthy, all your actions will unconsciously reflect that identity, and your life will echo it back to you. But when you assume the state of wealth, of love, of confidence, and persist in that feeling, everything in your world must eventually reflect it. It is not the world you wait for to give you permission to feel fulfilled. It is your feeling of fulfillment that commands the world to rearrange itself. Most fail here because they are always waiting for proof before they believe. But proof never comes first. Faith comes first. Assumption comes first. Feeling comes first. The end must be lived inwardly before it can be experienced outwardly. And so putting God first is living from the reality conceived in imagination, not asking when will it come, but knowing it is already done. Living from the end is not pretending. It is not acting in a shallow or forced way. It is deep inner identification. It is the silent knowing, the still conviction that you are what you desire to be. Pretending is shallow. Living from the end is embodied. When you live from the end, you no longer seek, you assume. You do not beg, you give thanks. You are no longer separate from your desire, chasing it like a dream always just out of reach. Instead, you are one with it, united in feeling, dwelling in its presence even when the outer world is unchanged. That is the power of putting God, imagination, spirit, consciousness first. You realize that your inner state is the only thing that truly matters, and it is the cause of all. Once you take your eyes off time and appearances and dwell in the feeling of the end, you become the master of creation, not its servant. To live from the end is to claim victory before battle, to feel the joy of answered prayer before the evidence arrives, to celebrate the harvest while the seed is still in the ground. This is the secret of every miracle, every transformation, every fulfilled dream. It is not effort that creates the change, it is inner alignment. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. So ask yourself, who am I being right now in consciousness? Am I being the one who has, or the one who hopes? Am I waiting for proof, or am I embodying truth? The moment you shift from seeking to being, from wanting to knowing, everything begins to move. Invisible bridges of incidents are formed, events unfold, people appear, opportunities rise up not because you forced them, but because your new state of consciousness made them necessary. Living from the end requires persistence. You must be loyal to the unseen. The world may mock your silence, your inner confidence, your invisible certainty, but the world is only reflecting your old thoughts. Don't fight it. Don't try to convince anyone. Simply remain faithful to the end you've claimed. You do not need to manipulate or hustle or prove anything to anyone. The inner work is the only work that matters. When you walk by faith, you understand that the world is a delayed mirror of your dominant state, and that time is just the servant of imagination. The more real the inner world becomes to you, the faster the outer world responds. But even if it takes time, you remain still, unmoved, trusting the unseen more than the seen. That is spiritual maturity. That is putting God first. And how do you dwell in the end? You do it with feeling. You ask yourself, if this desire were already fulfilled, how would I feel? How would I walk? How would I speak? What would I stop worrying about? What would I give thanks for? And then you do just that. You let that mood saturate your inner being and let it dominate your inner talk, your self-concept, your daydreams. If the end you imagine is abundance, then walk as one who is already provided for. If the end is healing, then rest in the peace of already being whole. If it is reconciliation, then love from the state of already being united. This is prayer not begging but assuming, not reaching but resting, and it is from this inner Sabbath that all things are created. So, my friend, do not live in hope, live in fulfillment. Do not ask, how long must I wait? Ask, what would it feel like if it were already true? And then feel it, become it, embody it. The law of consciousness will not fail you. God in you, your imagination will not abandon you. Live from the end and watch as the world bends to your inner command. This is putting God first in the highest sense, letting the inner truth lead and letting the outer world follow. Assumption, the sacred bridge between desire and manifestation. There is a divine mechanism, quiet and often overlooked, that connects every longing in your heart to its physical expression, and that sacred mechanism is assumption. Assumption is not mere wishing or passive daydreaming. It is a creative act, a spiritual law, and the only bridge that leads from desire to manifestation. To assume is to claim the reality of what you desire without waiting for external evidence. It is the decision to feel as though your prayer is already answered, to live inwardly in the state of fulfillment, even as the facts around you remain unchanged. This is the great secret that so many miss. You do not wait for your world to change before you feel different. You feel different, and your world must follow. To put God first is to understand and live by this law, that your inner assumption is the cause of all outer experience. What you assume to be true, consistently and emotionally, becomes your world. The world is not fixed. It is plastic to the touch of sustained inner belief. The outer is simply the shadow of the inner, and assumption is the shaping force of that shadow. When you assume something with conviction, when you feel it real, you have set in motion a power that no circumstance can resist, a spiritual law that bends all things toward your inner image. The power of assumption is holy because it is creative. It is the way God in you brings things into being. You don't need to fight, chase, or struggle. You need only to assume the state of the person you desire to be. If you long for abundance, assume the feeling of being already wealthy. If you desire healing, assume the feeling of perfect health. If you seek love, assume the feeling of already being cherished. This is not fantasy, this is divine alignment. And though nothing may change immediately in the outer world, everything changes the moment you change within. The assumption becomes the seed, and though the seed may be invisible for a time, it contains the full tree. Time does not deny the promise, it fulfills it. And the one who lives by assumption does not fear delay, because they know that what they have accepted as true in consciousness must externalize. The bridge between desire and manifestation is built not with effort, but with faithful assumption. The more natural your assumption becomes, the more quickly it crystallizes into fact. The assumption is not a bridge you cross once with a single thought. It is a path you walk daily with feeling, with mood, with imagination. It must become the air you breathe, the place from which you respond to life, the invisible atmosphere you carry within you everywhere. Assumption is prayer without words. It is not asking for what you want. It is receiving it inwardly before it arrives outwardly. When you truly assume something, when you saturate your mind with the feeling that it is already so, you activate the God power within you. You become one with the outcome, and in that unity it must come forth. Nothing is withheld from the one who walks by assumption, because they walk not as beggars but as creators. Most people wait for signs, for doors to open, for proof before they believe. But those who understand this principle reverse the order. They believe first, and the signs follow. They feel the door open within, and soon it swings open without. This is the law of assumption, and it never fails. The challenge is not whether it works, it always works, but whether you can remain faithful to your assumption long enough for it to bear fruit. It is easy to drift back into doubt, to look at appearances, to feel discouraged. But putting God first means giving priority not to appearances, but to the inner truth you have claimed. To assume is to live deliberately. It is to choose your identity consciously rather than accept it passively. You are always assuming something. The question is, are you doing it consciously or by default? When you wake in the morning, do you assume success or stress? When you think of your future, do you assume blessing or burden? Every assumption is a prayer sent out into the field of life, and life answers with corresponding conditions. The wise therefore choose their assumptions carefully and feed them with emotion, with repetition, with gratitude. They revise the stories that no longer serve them, they let go of identities rooted in lack, fear, or limitation, and they assume new ones grounded in truth and divine possibility. You must become the thing you want before you see it. There is no other way, and assumption is the divine act that makes becoming possible. It is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Understand this. Your assumption creates your reality. Not some of the time, not part of the time always. If you assume you are powerless, life will confirm it. If you assume you are favored, life will honor it. If you assume delay, life delays. If you assume I am blessed, life blesses. The assumption becomes your vibration, your identity, your point of attraction. You are never waiting on the world is waiting on your assumption, and when you change your assumption, you change your life. But this is not done by force, it is done in silence, in stillness, in the sacred chamber of the mind and heart where feeling meets thought. You enter the state inwardly and let it possess you. You do not visit the state once and leave. You dwell in it, you live from it. You breathe in its atmosphere until the line between imagination and reality dissolves, and the outer world must bend to match the inner one. So if you would walk with God, if you would put God truly first, then put assumption first, put your inner knowing above the external facts. When the world says no, let your assumption say yes. When fear comes, assume safety. When lack appears, assume provision. When confusion rises, assume clarity. Assumption is not arrogance, it is faith in action. It is the invisible bridge that carries you from what is to what can be, and finally to what is again, but now transformed. To walk that bridge is to walk by faith, not sight. It is to trust that what you feel within is more powerful than what you see without. And it is to know, with quiet conviction, that assumption is the very breath of God moving through you, shaping, calling, unfolding your life according to your deepest inner claim.